am with Dan Barsotti. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's so exciting. I have got a grill of questions for you today. So, for those who may not know you yet, can you share a bit about your background and how you got started in the dental industry?
Yeah, and it's not really a topical question. This is kind of the deep, deep essence of who you are, right? So,
Right.
how far back we want to wind back the clock? I wouldn't say when I first entered dentistry. I would share more. I was birthed into it. And so I'm part of a three-generation dental consulting family that really has grown up with dentistry, but not on the clinical side of things. My family's been obsessed with studying the systems and processes and the practice optimization side of the industry. And so I would say my history began at the dinner table as far as getting to understand these conversations and some of the challenges in dental practices. I finished off my honors degree in university, focused on business. What I thought is unique, though, is I have a minor in organizational analysis, which in today's time is very much that Six Sigma black belt
Mhm.
conversation of how does it all work. So, right off from the get-go, I think my mindset has always been entrepreneurial and how can we get businesses to really function and work to their best abilities. And then couple that with, I joined the founding family of our platform in a junior consulting capacity right out of university. And so I was thrown right into the trenches with a full understanding of the complexities of front office, all of the independent roles, all the way to the back chair. And so nothing better than being thrown into the deep end. And then I ventured off because I am an entrepreneur. So I had to start my own businesses. It was important for me to truly understand the healthcare industry. So I moved on into orthopedics and had some great experiences there with both joint replacement and post-op recovery. And then I even have done a lot of project management and business development in the clean tech energy. And so lots of resources, lots of relationships, lots of complexity. But at the end of the day, Lori, I think you would agree it is a mafioso or a quicksand industry that pulls you
Brought you
back
back
in.
in. Yes.
It does, it does. And so I had to come back to dentistry, and mostly because of the evolution of the platform. Max entered the market in 2012 with our leader still in charge today, which is Jeff, my brother. But what's interesting is seeing the product and the industry evolve over the last little bit since I've left and now come back full swing. So that's
Yeah.
kind of me in a nutshell.
I love that. And I do have some follow-up questions, but I will say that dentistry sounds like it's in your DNA. And quite literally. Quite
100%.
literally. One of the things that's been so exciting about working with your family and with Max Assist has been just the level of commitment to dentistry. You know, so many companies are in multiple verticals, and it's been really nice to see a company who says, no, we are dedicated to dentistry. So, on that frame, what was your first experience with the DSO world, and how did it shape your perspective on leadership and growth? Because I know I spent 5 years at a DSO, and honestly, it shaped a lot of the things that I do today. So I would love your perspective on how you kind of stumbled into DSO and what you're thinking there.
100%. You know, what's interesting given my experiences, I mean, I've even owned franchises in multiple locations, but from a retail perspective, back in my day of dentistry, DSOs didn't exist. So we had multi-location practices, group dentistry for sure, but this new entity of DSO just wasn't around back in my day when I was full-fledged. What I find interesting coming back full circle now that I've had my gambit of experience and wisdom is the layers of complexity that exist within a DSO, because it's not the mom and pop practitioner of a solo practice with the wife,
Yep.
complementing the experience, but really an industry within the industry. And so I see kind of two facets that are really interesting to me. Number one is the cultures that exist within these multiple levels of industry where they're trying to keep the culture of the practice all the way up to the C-suite. And then simultaneously, the challenges that they experience on that scalable level, because it's not the mom and pop decision-making process. And so
Right.
there's ripples of both success and challenge that echo through these DSOs, which I think make them very unique.
Yeah.
And, you know, the poke the bear conversation, if we were to poke the bear, I know there's a lot of dialogue of every DSO is unique, and they are. Simultaneously, though, they all experience very common challenges. Front office chaos is a common problem among all DSOs. Things
Yes.
like communication, productivity, analytics. There's some shared, definitely shared bridges among them all,
Hurdles.
even though
Yeah.
they are unique, right?
Yes. Yes.
So
Love that.
that's what I find interesting is this is not an easy puzzle to solve.
Yeah, no, and I don't think it's really poking the bear at all. I think you're just being honest and transparent. I don't think sometimes people want to hear that, right? They want to hear that they've got the systems figured out, they've got all the problems solved. But how many times do we hop on with said DSO organizations and think, oh, we can really help you here? Like that's the excitement for me is that we have something for everybody. So, with that said, you've now worked with a wide range of practices, organizations, and all the way back in your history, right? I mean, you've done such a complexity of things. I've been in boring old dentistry for 36 years, really never straight except for my ophthalmology background, where I say eyes, teeth, podiatry out. But yeah, we're going to stick with teeth for a while. But what's the common thread you've seen among the most successful organizations and practices so far?
You know, I think there's a number of recipes that work and definitely will guide you on the journey of success, regardless of kind of what those goals are. The common thread that I'm seeing as far as thought leaders and DSOs that are really taking the charge is this ruthless, courageous perspective
Yeah,
of tackling their DSOs, regardless of the challenges that they're going to experience. And so, you know, I would use the word almost sobriety, where they understand it's going to be hard. They understand the journey and the workload that's in front of them, but they're
yeah,
just so rigorous about solving the problem. And although you had mentioned, you know, your focus has been primarily in dentistry, I think that's where the success comes from, where the discipline and the commitment of those 10,000 hours of
yeah,
mastery, I
yeah,
can never steal that wisdom from you. And
yeah,
so it's experience and time combined that really kind of shapes your perspective of why you're so impactful from the office management and team level. And so I think that's the same level of commitment that I'm starting to see with these DSOs succeeding
yeah,
is they're tenacious to find the
yeah.
solution.
Yeah, I love that. And, I would call them gritty and scrappy, and they're constantly looking to better the solution. That's why I think you're such a good fit as you launch into your social media journey with Max. And we'll get to that in a few minutes. But I think the interesting thing for me about DSOs and watching how you've kind of worked to getting to know people and as people are, experiencing your level of business acumen is that they're curious to learn, right? That's the exciting thing about what you're going to bring to Dan Barsotti Maxed Out, because I feel like you bring a completely different perspective. You were in dentistry, you left, you came back, and now you also bring all that wisdom into the party, into the conversation, right into the space. And I think sobriety is a good word because at the end of the day, it is a sobering moment to have to work. Like I worked with a lot of regional managers, and let's say they had 12 locations. Every single manager, lead, front office person, just in my specialty, they're all different, different personalities. You're trying to watch what they're doing, how they're doing it. You've got rock stars, you have people struggling. It's not like it's for us at Max Assist, there's 60 plus of us, but we all do something a little bit different, right? So with a DSO, you're really looking at the level of, okay, how do I replicate success from one to the next and kind of move on? So, I have a quick question for you on that note. How would your colleagues describe your approach to leadership and problem solving. If you have to think about, I mean, you and I have had conversations about we like this, we don't like that, we know how this works, and we'd like to see this be better in certain frames. But I would love your thoughts on, as a leader, how am I problem solving in my practice at the DSO level? Like, what do I really need to be focused on?
Lots of layers there.
Come on,
Well,
show me all your spaghetti.
yeah,
I want all the spaghetti.
sure. Hands down. There's a couple things that are really, I think, part of my fabric. And so, through the process of my mentorships and developing my education and my kind of professional perspective of things, I would definitely throw myself into the camp of the servant leader. I firmly believe in all of those concepts and values of the tide floating all boats, but more
Same.
so in a sense of the purpose and the satisfaction of contribution to others is something that ultimately motivates me. And I think that's part of who I am, just as the fabric of a person, let alone the leader. Uh, I think that's the emotional IQ of the conversation,
Sure.
followed by, and I heard it shared, and this is going to age me, but at one of the most recent conferences I was at in Chicago, someone brought up Edward Deming, who is a pioneer of systems. And so when you think of where Max has come from, both from a systems point of view and then also that relationship connection point of view, I think that expresses exactly who I am as far as I firmly am committed to both the systems and processes within any organization. And then
Yeah.
at the same time, I can't do it without the people. I love the
Yeah.
people. I love the connection.
Yeah.
I believe everyone that shows up to work wants to add purpose, wants to add value, wants to
Yeah.
have a sense of satisfaction. And so I try to interconnect those two fabrics and really just kind of create an environment of both
Mhm.
systematized infrastructure and let people be people. And
Yeah.
that would be,
No, I love that. And I think that takes us kind of to the AI conversation. So, as you know, I have my own channel, Lorie Streeter Maxed Out, very focused on the US and beyond. We're in North America, juggernaut company coming after you, right? So, we're really trying to make our face in the US. Most people know that Max Assist was a Canadian born company, as there are many Canadian born companies in dentistry, which is awesome. You guys are innovative in that way, which is so cool. But I will tell you that one of the comments that came back from a video that I did just recently, someone said, "Yeah, all the AI replace us." And I think for me, and sounding from what you're saying too, I think we both are aligned when it comes to, AI in the practice belongs with the people, not eliminating people. So I think our software, our history, our premise is built on empowering teams and workflows and systems to make things better and more succinct and easier, not to replace anybody. So do you agree?
I'm absolutely. And I think as AI introduces itself to the global scale, what we're noticing is a really, really clear division between technologies that are replacing people because it's an understood workflow and they're
Sure.
solving a problem. Where I see Max Assist really fitting into the foundational tool and system that is the fact that it solves multiple workflow problems, simultaneously understanding the ecosystem of a dental environment. And so we're
Yeah.
not solving one specific problem. What we're doing is we're giving front office teams a toolbox of options that allow them to deal with everything that takes place during the day,
Yeah.
and our AI specifically supports them in that process to stay
Yeah.
engaged, to stay connected to their patients. And I think that's where you and I would both agree. That's the big shift in how we introduce our AI technology, which
Yeah.
is to enhance the experience and the capabilities of front office teams, not
Yep.
to replace them and create a digital barrier. that almost
Yeah.
creates more workflow at the end of the day. And so I'm so with you where AI is going nowhere. And if we harness it in the right way, man, is it going to take us to some different levels of experience and engagement and connection.
Yeah. A little side note on that. For those of you that might be watching, I love that we call it actionable intelligence because at the end of the day, when I look at it as a former office manager, I've spent 12 years in a dental practice. If I had someone telling me, hey, Lori, you're a rock star, but let me tell you something. If you want to be efficient, here are the 5 steps to take in a row to make sure everything that all your goals of filling chairs and keeping your patients happy and engaged, here's how you do it. I would not have turned that down for anything. It would have been such a blessing. So, with that said, I've got a few more questions if you don't mind.
Go,
Um,
go, go.
so, Dan, what's something most people don't know about you that influences how you lead or connect with others? I guess that's your, I think your brother holds the why conversation so well, right? He always reminding me about the why. So, what's your why and what don't people know about you?
Well, I think we'll get a little intimate here, and I think you can get on my bandwagon. So I think what people most wouldn't know about me is the fact that I am an accredited Reiki master. And
Nice.
if you don't know what that is, you've got lots of chat options to go explore that. But, just to summarize the exchange of universal energy and that we're all sharing a frequency together, that's an important part, I think, of us now, attacking our goals and moving into the US market space, which is if communication is the breakdown, I think having that tool set of frequency and energy to get an understanding of who people really are, that
Yeah,
genuine, authentic connection. And that's what
yeah,
I think Max Assist is really here to do is create those genuine, authentic connections. You can feel that. Other people can feel that. And I think that's
sure.
the gravity of the industry that we are trying to create right now, Lori. And so
Yeah.
for me, that's something that I privately bring to the table and execute on a day-to-day basis. And I think it really helps to just kind of create a more open and transparent platform for me to connect with people.
No, I love with that. And on my side, I'll do the same thing. I've shared with you before, I'm a Reiki master. And all that that has meant for me in my life was that I have been in situations where healing, no matter what it is, even DSO practices need to heal from something all the time. I never have been one to take a traditional route to anything, especially in business, right? And attention goes where energy flows. So, what I learned from that, and for those of you that aren't just out Googling Reiki right now, which is fine, even like places like the Mayo Clinic, they even use Reiki or they call it hands on touch, hands on healing. Think of it this way: if you are focusing your energy on growth and development, whether that be personal or for your practice, if you put intentionality behind that, your energy is going to shift that way and you are going to move in that direction. And I think that's so important in business. And I think that a lot of leaders leave that out of the equation. Yes, we can be data driven. Yes, we can look at, this sold, this didn't sell, this is working, this is not working. But there has to be an uplift of energy underneath it to give it momentum. And I know you and I are all about momentum.
Well, and a side note, it resonates in the realm of hospitality. And so
Yes.
our family comes from hospitality, and without overcomplicating the industry of dentistry, it is very much hospitality mixed with clinical engagement. And so when
Yeah.
you think of these patients who have anxiety and concerns, etc., and they're coming into these locations which have a strong sense of ownership and commitment, a patient knows immediately when front office and the team all the way to the clinician are really engaged and paying attention, and that
Yeah.
energetic flow and connection is priceless. And
Yeah.
I think that's where we really kind of dig our heels in about how we want to be as professionals and also the platform that we represent, which is the connection is key. That is a
Yeah.
very big part of our industry.
totally. I'm chuckling to myself because my friend Teresa Duncan, she's our RCM insurance guru, one of the smartest people I know. She's been calling me Master Splinter from the Teenage Ninja Turtles forever. So I remember my a couple conferences ago, we were both in the same space, and I was bringing some essential oils and doing some things, and she was like, "What is that? Why does that smell like cilantro?" I'm like, oh, sorry. I'll leave that one for someone else. So yeah, it's a crazy life, but it's a good one, and I think they meld really well together. So speaking of
100%.
energy, great segue. The phrase maxed out has energy behind it, and I will tell you that before I took my position at Max Assist, I get a lot of really great like ideas in the shower. I think it's the water and just
100%.
the cleansing of your mind, and you're not thinking about anything. And I was in there and I heard maxed out, maxed in. I started hearing all these things and I was like writing, pitching, doing the things. And so the phrase maxed out does have energy behind it, right? What does it mean to you personally and professionally when you think of maxed out? I think some office managers might think stress, overwhelm, those things. I'm just the opposite. I'm like, let's go all in, like, let's get maxed out. So, what is it going to mean for you as you're on this journey?
100%. The low-hanging fruit, not my credit card. So where that you just got to get over the small joke. For me, maxed out, I think, and segue for editing for our team here. I think it segues beautifully in what we talked about with Reiki. And so for me, when I hear maxed out, granted, it could be the stress level, it could be running on all cylinders, it could be burning yourself out, et cetera, et cetera. That's not where I see it for us and for our team. From a DSO perspective, I see it being firmly in that flow of energy, that maximum commitment and focus. You're not
Yes.
tired, you're not hungry, you're not
You.
reactive, you're not overwhelmed. You are
Yes.
perfectly productive, accomplishing
Yes.
your goals, crushing your agenda, and consciously, and I'm getting goosebumps, consciously being aware that that's exactly where you are. And so if
Yes.
you are aware of that while you're doing that, that to me is a maxed out state of mind of
Yes.
flow and energy and really being involved.
Yes, and I think convexly maxed in adjacent to maxed out. Maxed in simply means that you are all in. You're not only recognizing that you're in the flow of your best productivity, but maxed in means I'm doing all the things to make the things happen. Like I'm totally committed and I love that. So, I guess that segues really nice into the next question I have for you, which is other than the fact that we've been poking you to do it, but why did you decide to create Dan Barsotti Maxed Out now? And what gap do you see in the DSO space that you want to fill? And let me get a little clearer about that. So one of the conversations that you and I had was that I believe from a business acumen standpoint, from a worldly view standpoint, from an energetic standpoint, all the things that you have a lot to offer to the DSO community, not just because we work with Max Assist, but and because we work with Max Assist. So, all these things, you've brought that to the product, to the table, and to the DSO community. Now, how are you going to use Maxed Out to articulate your vision for how leaders in the DSO space can operate differently and look at things through a lens of we want to be maxed in, we want to do all the things?
100%. Oh, I would say first, because I've never done this before, my first step is full authenticity and genuine transparency because I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm
Right.
motivated and really inspired on a number of different levels. And so I think number one is I'm going to surrender and we're going to just see where this goes in its entirety.
Good thought.
Um, the second thing is coming back to the industry after 15 years. What I find interesting, Lori, is certain conversations have continued. We haven't solved the problem yet. And so I want to be very rigorous and very aggressive with solving some problems and enough of the chit chat. I think we are all aware of what's taking place in certain bottlenecks and certain challenges. Let's get really excited and really focused about solving some problems and being honest about the experience as well. Not everything is going to turn out well, but I think if we can create a shared community of suffering and success, let's see where
Yes.
that goes. And
Two
then
S's with Dan Barsotti.
right. And the third thing is there is nothing wrong with a little bit of joy and love and celebration in this world. And so
Yeah.
honestly, I hope to connect with some people, share some great experiences. Let's laugh at ourselves.
Yeah.
And really let's see where we can take this. So
Yeah.
those would
No,
be my
I, I,
motivations.
I love it. And I really thought through before coming on to talk to you about how is this going to serve the DSO community? And you tell me if I'm on the right track. I think that DSO leadership and people who have been in DSOs many times, I have a lot of heroes that I look at and think, wow, what a job they've done. You know, people like Steve Bilt, who I worked for Smile Brands for 5 years, amazing leader. I think that he's done an amazing job over the years, many years now, of running Smile Brands, growing it with the integrity and those kind of things. But here's what I'm excited about, and I'd love you to comment about this. So, when you envision this platform of serving DSOs by bringing in new information, dental teams across the country are going to look at you and go, wow, he's got a really different perspective. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most. I got to be honest with you, is the way you come to the table in this raw, real way to show the DSO community that they can have problems, symptoms, successes, the sobriety. I mean, you're going to have all the S's all lined up, right? All the things. And I can't wait for you to come up with something more brilliant than One Word Wednesday, because I really think that the conversation that you need to have with DSO leaders overall is that it's okay to fail. It's okay to reevaluate and shift, because I think a lot of times DSOs tend to be super rigid. So, from a leadership standpoint and how you want people to engage with your content, what are you hoping those DSOs that are watching you now going, huh, what's he up to? If there's one thing that you could say, look, I want you to listen to me for this, what do you think that would be?
Oh.
Oh, I
Well,
love it. I
here,
stumped
yeah,
you.
you've got me thinking. You've got me thinking because I think, we can be a resource to the community in a number of different fashions, whether we're problem solving certain workflow issues, whether we're, attacking conversations of building culture, is it growth, is it scalability, what are those touch points? Where I see our platform and this as a resource really coming to fruition is let's push those difficult dialogues, let's push those difficult conversations, but simultaneously, Lori, we're just as much of a data company. And so what I think we're going to make the biggest splash is as we stir the pot and bring up some of these conversations, we're going to back it with real data, real experiences, real DSOs working through these challenges. And
Yeah,
that's where I hope we really build that trust and connection with our base is
love it.
we're not just randomly throwing out concepts, hoping that something's going to stick to the wall, but more
Yeah.
so we're pushing an agenda that's backed by industry knowledge and data that says
Mhm.
not only are we pioneering,
Yeah.
but it's based on calculated strategy and results.
Yeah, no, that's so good. And for those of you that are wondering, like in lay terms, what the heck does that mean? You know what that means? That means we served 90 million messages last year.
100%.
And from those 90 million messages, we have tons of really good data that's going to help you grow. So I won't get into a commercial because I do have two more questions for you. But one of them is, I know I've had a few, and some of them were actually when I worked for a DSO, but I would love to hear about like a mentor or someone that has impacted you that you can actually see the results of that relationship in what you're doing today. Like, who has that been for you? Like, for me, his name was Irv. He was a sales manager when I worked at Smile Brands, and my job was to drive new patients into dental practices all over Northern California. Just something about his demeanor, how he carried himself, the advice that he gave me, it sticks with me today. Like, I hear myself and think, oh, I sound like Irv right now. He was a great guy. I loved working for him, and he's been super impactful. And I want to hear
Yes.
who your mentor has been, who your mentors have been. What does that look like? Because people in the DSO space, they need mentors. We all do.
Absolutely. Uh, Two things. I think I'm deeply rooted in where I've evolved to. And so, I'm privileged to say to the founder of our organization and also my father creates an incredible opportunity to learn and be mentored,
Yeah,
not only through the growth and development of the dental practice management organizations, but also where this platform is today. That's substantial. And, I feel very fortunate to be able to learn and grow from that process. I would also, and it's a family affair. I would also include my brother in this conversation.
for
In
sure.
2012, when he joined and they first launched this platform into the industry, our background was not SaaS. Our background was dental practice management, healthcare. And so to see Jeff evolve and grow the organization to where it is today and be surrounded by such an incredible team, Lori. I feel so
Yeah,
fortunate to be working with you,
same.
Savannah, our leaders, which are, 7, 10 years with the organization already. It says
Yeah,
so much about our organization and the
sure.
scrappy misfit group that we are, where we're all so committed to this profession. And
Yeah,
so I feel a lot of my mentorship and success has come from Ron and Jeff. And simultaneously, my hat's off to the DSO community and industry. It is full of incredible thought leaders, speakers, individuals driving the conversation and really shaping this community. And so, my hat's off and thank you to those that have really kind of brought me under the flock and under the wing, because
yeah.
there's been a tremendous amount of mentorship taking place there too. So,
Yeah. Oh, I
yeah,
love that. That's
fortunate.
that's awesome. Okay, we've got one more question. So, if you could leave the DSO community with one message as you launch Dan Barsotti Maxed Out, what message would you want that to be? I think for me, the flavor of that is really, if they're going to follow you. And I had the same experience. I had to launch with, how many followers do you have? One. It's probably my husband. Two. That's my son. My husband, my son, right? So as it built and it's grown, and I think we're at 1,100 followers on TikTok, which is awesome, and our views are up to over 100,000. So very grateful there. It's been a challenge up and down, but I had to look at the very beginning and say, what message do I want to leave this group that I'm talking to? My message has been, you know, as an office manager lover, because that's my shtick, right? I 36 years in dentistry, was an office manager for 12 years, led one of the most amazing dental associations for 17 years, working with ADOM. I had to say to the dental community at large, I believe in office managers. I believe in the part they play in the success in their practice. And that's what I'm going to keep talking about. I'm going to keep talking to the people that get up every morning and go into a business and treat it like it's their very own, even though they don't share in the profits of that business. They don't have, that was me. So all I'm doing is mirroring and wanting to show someone, this is my commitment to your success. So for you, knowing your background, your deep culture, the DNA of your family, and the commitment to dentistry, unwavering, simply, like, what do you want the DSO community? Why should they follow you?
I think at the end of the day, if I could be of value, it would be a voice and a conduit for authentic strategic growth. And I know that kind of sounds calculated, but it just popped in my head. And so there's a way in which business can be done and executed with full integrity, full compassion, full belief of including others, and incorporating all those formulas of ROI and your EBITDA and all of that conversation. And so it can really be done with everything. And I think
Yeah.
maybe that is where I would challenge and champion is we can have it all. And you can have your cake and eat it too. And so that's where I think we're headed, Lori, is a little bit of optimism, rolling up our sleeves. We know it's hard work, but at the end
Yeah.
of the day, the people are so infectious and so contagious. How do you
Yeah.
not want to help and not get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, our transparency is, do we have a software to sell? Yes. Yes, we do. But I think what we bring to the table is so much more than just our tool. We're trying to bring hundreds of years of dental experience, a business acumen that's rooted in servant leadership, like you said. And basically, I love my Let Them Dental Edition series. Little plug for that. I'm going to say, you want to succeed? Let them. Let's let them succeed the best that they can. We're going to stay maxed in and maxed out to the conversation. Dan, thank you so much for letting me help you launch some of these critical conversations to launch your pages. It's very good. And to the teams that are watching this and the potential DSOs that want to follow either one of us. So I'm Lorie Streeter maxed out, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. Dan will be the same. Dan
Come
Barsotti
find
maxed
us.
out. Come find us. That's right. You never
100%.
know. We might take that North American tour on the road. I do sing, by the way. I don't know, we could do Reiki sessions too, but it would be a lot of fun.
I
So
will be guitar and percussion to back you up.
perfect. That's all I need. Just a little, like, what's the old saying? You've got a friend. So I love it. All right, pal. Well, thank you very much. Dan Barsotti
Pleasure,
maxed
Lori.
out. Lorie Streeter maxed out. We are signing off.